There's a tip that we use as home inspectors. There's a macro-micro approach. So you look at the house as a whole. So even if you find a micro problem, let's say a certain type of crack, that crack could be causing far more problems. So that's the difficult part. Kitchens and bathrooms sell houses, but there's some guiding principles that people should look into. Not everything you see on TV, like when you see a home renovation show and you're like, oh my God, that's a gorgeous kitchen. They're expensive.
Yeah.
They're designed by professionals, and they might not necessarily boost the volume of your home.
You're now watching Canadian Mandarin Economics Television.
家国地产发展趋势，近期楼市最新动态，地产行业权威发布，众多专家分析点评，尽在置业家国。观众朋友，大家好，欢迎收看本期的置业家国。那么在买房卖房的过程当中呢，房屋结构的品质认证可以说是非常重要的环节。在验房的过程当中，买家可以彻底的了解到将要购入的这栋房屋的真实情况，从而做出明智的购房选择。那么今天的节目呢，我们就请到了在大多地区有着多年验房和装修经验的 Dominic Blago 来到我们的节目当中，跟我们共同分享一下他的一些小诀窍。Hi, Dominic.
Hello.
Hi, it was very nice to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Could you please give us a brief introduction about what you do and what your specialty is?
My specialty is I'm a residential home inspector, but I also do commercial. Most people, when they think of home inspecting, automatically associate it with real estate and real estate transactions. But we also do go into houses and look for maintenance problems, individual component failure, heat loss, amongst a whole bunch of other different issues. And then we also consult with other renovation companies in order to help them if they run into issues, and I do renovations myself. I have 20 years construction experience, mostly coming in structural. I've worked on residential, custom homes, individual renovations, kitchens, baths, basements, and from my commercial experience, I built Crystal on the Rum, which is a Frank Gehry architectural piece, the addition on OCAD. So I've got a broad range of different things I've done in construction, which gives me a better understanding of the whole building envelope, because individual components make up a home. So understanding just one aspect of it can lead to troubles. So having a good knowledge base helps me do a proper home inspection, knowing everything that how it works together and what could go wrong. And that's some of the issues with do-it-yourselfers run into, right? So when they're doing a plumbing job on their house, they might not understand how that works with the other components and how it exhausts and that sort of stuff. And that's where a lot of people run into troubles, and that's where we consult with.
Okay. Bidding wars is not a new phenomenon here, especially here in Toronto. Buying home in multiple offer situations, buyers feel like they have to opting out their home inspection in order to gain a upper hand in a negotiation. So in your opinion, do you feel that buyers have to giving up their home inspection?
Well, as a home inspector, I'd prefer people not to give up their home inspections. That's how I make a living. But a lot of people are, and I can't in good conscience tell someone it's a good idea to waive a home inspection. It's like buying a used car. When you go to buy a used car, the salesman can tell you there's a lineup of people looking at this car. So I'm not letting anyone test drive it. And there you go. Can you make a bid? And nobody in their right mind logically would ever buy a car without test driving or get a Carfax. That's what's happening in real estate. Now I understand that because of it's such a competitive market, that people are waiving their rights to an inspection. But there's a lot of different ways that you can get a home inspection, or at least some knowledge on the house. So it's you're looking for, you can do a walkthrough inspection. They're not really inspections. My average home inspection when I do one is 2.5 to 3 hours on a 1,500 square foot home, so sometimes 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
So a walkthrough inspection done in 40 minutes isn't going to tell you as much as a full inspection, but at least it's something, some sort of knowledge that if there's a major component failure, that you're not getting stuck with a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 renovation moving into a home. It protects yours in your investment. A lot of sellers are doing pre-home inspections or pre-sale inspections because it increases the likelihood of a bidding war. Now, the more home buyers, potential home buyers that you can get to feel comfortable making a bid, the more chances of a bidding war. So it's a prudent financial, and it's a good way to sell a good product, right? I mean, it's people's homes. They're moving in. You want them to be safe. You want them to feel good about it, and you want to feel good about selling somebody a good product.
That's right.
So doing a pre-sale if you're selling is a good way just to be a good person, really. There's also a couple things I've done. What's becoming more and more popular is doing, I go along with the realtor and the client, the buyer, and we do, I go along with the viewings. Last week I was with a couple and we looked at 4 homes, so over a few hours. The first house had water damage. It was very visible. I took my thermal imaging, I saw the moisture, I did a moisture meter test, it was active. So they obviously didn't make an offer on that house. The second house we went to was from 1946, had asbestos that I could visually tell. It needed to be confirmed with testing, but I could visually tell it was possibility of asbestos and structural damage. So they didn't make an offer on that. So it saved everyone a lot of time. The third house was satisfactory, and the fourth house had electrical issues. So having professionals, surrounding yourself with professionals is going to help you make a decision, and it also saves you time because now you're not bidding on houses and then waiting for the closing and then having things that delay closing.
You said you go with the couple for the 4 houses in one day?
Oh yeah, easily. Like for viewings, they take 20 minutes, a half an hour. And it's not an actual inspection, but with my expertise, I can pick up a couple red flags, stuff that really sticks out. And I still encourage people to have a post-closing, like if you've waived all your conditions, to have an inspection post-closing, because it won't affect the deal, but it'll give you the knowledge to be a proper, well-informed homeowner.
Well, since we're talking about bidding war, I want to continue this topic. When talking about like bidding war, I understand the time is essential. So when sometimes under like maybe some like special situations, people don't have the time to hire a professional home inspector to do the job, they have to do it on their own. So do you have any tips for them? Like how do they do it?
It's very, very difficult. I have 20 years experience. I've gone to college for home inspection. I'm part of a trade organization called the International Association of Home Inspectors. And there's a lot of things that we do, extra courses, continuing knowledge, plus my life experience building. I'm the second generation, my grandfather was a contractor. So like, all those years of experience, and now you're expecting a homeowner to learn it all in a couple weeks.
Maybe just some
maybe
tips
even overnight,
on the surface.
overnight, and give it. And it's some of the houses. And I'm not saying that there's not home buyers that can't do it, because there are people that are knowledgeable. There are people out there that have a construction experience, but it's a bit different because when you're doing a trade, unless you're a general contractor, and that's the people I'm talking like that would really be able to do it. You're not understanding the whole envelope. So it's like to learn all this stuff in just a couple hours or a week, and then put that pressure on yourself.
That's
so
impossible.
It's a lot. It's not impossible because I believe in people. So I think that anybody can go out and do it, right? So if you spend the time, but here's the kind of the problem. The home buyer is the person under the most pressure. You're organizing with your realtor. You're securing financing. You're talking to lawyers.
Dealing with a lot of things.
You're dealing with a lot of stuff, and now you're going to go look and go, okay, now I'm going to take on one more aspect of this. There's a chip that we use. As home inspectors, there's a macro-micro approach. So you look at the house as a whole. So even if you find a micro problem, let's say a certain type of crack, that crack could be causing far more problems. So that's the difficult part. It's not sometimes visually finding a problem, it's finding out what that problem is doing to the rest of the house. So crack could be letting in moisture, affecting the insulation, causing interior problems, mold growth. So it's difficult. It can be done. There are a lot of online resources for individuals, but quite honestly, like I charge $400 or $500, and that's for the average house. Some can be more with extra components. So I think for that amount of money, and we're really good at working with people to get into the schedule. So I mean, I've gone and we can't do really anything exterior outside of daylight, but during, we will work with you within a 24-hour period to get into the house and inspect it. And if you've waived it, we've worked with realtors to at least do a walkthrough. So you can try it, but it's risky. It's really risky.
I understand beside home inspection, you also specialize in home renovation as well. So with the house price increasing, a lot of homeowners invest in their home to capitalize on its value. So do you have any tips for our audience to boost their home values?
It's an old cliche, and everyone says it, it's kitchens and bathrooms. Kitchens and bathrooms sell houses. But there's some guiding principles that people should look into. Not everything you see on TV, like when you see a home renovation show and you're like, oh my God, that's a gorgeous kitchen. They're expensive.
Yeah.
They're designed by professionals, and they might not necessarily boost the volume of your home. You really have to look at the market that you're in. So a house that's in Forest Hill is going to be vastly different than a house, let's say, in Markham, because it's different areas. Like there's a different demographic that's going to buy that house. So you don't necessarily have to get marble countertops or marble floors or oak cabinets to boost the value, and you can actually lose money. So what you want to do before, if you're going to get a house ready to sell and you're looking within about a year, you're going to want to contact a realtor. And I don't want to promote realtors, but that's their specialty. They'll look at other houses that sold and have access to pictures or a better knowledge of that area, and they'll be able to match up what you're going to do with the demographic that's popular in the area. So you're not going to lose money. Things like a jacuzzi tub that's in a bathroom doesn't necessarily boost the value. People just want to see it clean, nice, and visually appealing, and that's the trick with renovations that really boost value. You want things to pop. Basically, new paint, new flooring, clean flooring. Those are the things that are really going to boost the value. Like anytime you're doing a renovation, you don't want to make things too eccentric or too personalized. You want to leave it broad. So let's say a kitchen, and you really like red. You're not going to put bright red cabinets on because it doesn't appeal to a large population. But mahogany usually goes over well. So you really want to research. Try and take the personality out of it. It's we all
it's
like
hard.
to. It's
Yeah,
hard
it's
because
hard.
we like it, and you might have your favorite designer and want to emulate them, but it doesn't necessarily increase value, and it can really narrow what you're going to do. Now, like those are the really sexy kind of things that everyone wants to do, but there are renovations that people should look into that might not increase the value, but will help you get the value that you want. A roof, for example. A roof, like no one looks at a house and is like, oh, I've always wanted a brand new asphalt roof. But those are the things that when you walk into a house and pop, like a really dilapidated old roof will scare people away, right? So it's not necessarily bringing more value in, and no one's gonna be like, oh, I'll give you an extra $5,000 because you did the roof. It doesn't work that way, but it allows you to market and show people the house. So like that's where you're really making your value, is things that are visual. Decks, like if a deck's falling apart, you're gonna want to take care of that. It's not necessarily like a over-the-top landscaping design is great. Like people love it, and that might increase value. But again, you have to look at the demographic in the area.
What are you saying is that you don't have to pay do extra improvement, but to maintain what you have.
To maintain what you have and make sure it's clean. And if it's really outdated, you might want to look at resurfacing the cabinets is a good option, as opposed to doing a huge renovation, especially if you want to sell, because you're leaving that product there.
Right.
So you want to make sure that the amount of money that you're spending either maintains the value that that house should be at or increases it, because going over the top can decrease it.
What kind of renovations people need to be aware? Maybe right now the current homeowner greatly appreciate the improvement, but the buyers won't be appreciate or pay extra money for it.
Yeah, hot tubs and pools, because they're great, and I would appreciate moving into a house with a pool, but not everybody does. So it can narrow the demographic, and you're always thinking about the demographic, and then trying to appeal to the most people is the smartest way to do business. It's it's giving your greatest chance at selling your house for the value that you think it's worth and that your realtor think it's worth. One thing to really avoid when you're doing a renovation is if you own a home that's a 3-bedroom home or 4-bedroom home, and the master bedroom's small, and you want to take one of the bedrooms away, going from, let's say, a 3-bedroom house to a 2-bedroom house is really going to narrow the amount of people that are interested in the house. And you might think it's counterintuitive because people like a big master bedroom, and they do. But they also like being able to fit the most amount of people.
So last question, we have to ask you, what's your prediction for the GTA's real estate market, where it goes in 2017?
In my personal opinion, there is no GTA market because it's so hot that it's forcing people outside the GTA. So there's just one big integrated market now. I know because I'm based out of Cambridge, Ontario, which is right next to Waterloo. So the people that can't afford Toronto are basically what they're saying is they're driving until they qualify for a mortgage. So we're getting a big influx, and there's a very short supply. I don't see the market coming back this year. And my expertise is in home and building. But I do think there may be a correction coming, but I can't say it for certain. And I really hope that affordability becomes a little easier for people, because I know it's a very, very difficult market to get into. Very stressful for people.
That's right.
So I mean, all my clients are just stressed right out because they've bid on 5-6 houses, lost every bid. They finally get one, and then there's an issue with it. So this year, if you're getting into the real estate market, just be prepared for stress and for bidding wars, and hopefully everything works out, because it's a very, very difficult hot market, but it's also a market that you can profit at.
Right. Thank you so much, Dominic.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. 好的，非常感谢您收看本期的置业家国，我们下期节目再见。